Hello guys, this is Mike from McProgramming.org. We talked the last few tutorials about one-dimensional arrays. In this tutorial I'm going to get into multi-dimensional arrays, most specifically just a two-dimensional array. Once you get into 3 and 4 dimension of array, it's very complicating, and I don't know off the top of my head what you would need that for. Maybe some type of crazy science thing, or physics thing, but who knows. So let's show you the syntax for a multi-dimensional array. The difference, let's type out a simple one-dimensional array and show you the syntax again, just to remind you. See, make it real simple. 3, 4, and 5. Close that off. Okay, so there's your one-dimensional array. And if you remember, in the for loop, or when you print out an element out of this array, you index it by saying num, and in these brackets you put the index number. So my options would only be 0, 1, and 2 because there's 3 elements, and remember, it's the off by 1 problem, and that causes a lot of beginners troubles. But remember to start counting at 0, 1, 2. So let's just put 2, so it should print out a 5. Okay, so you're using one index to reference a one-dimensional array, and the amount of indices that you need to reference is pretty much the dimension of the array. So let me now create a two-dimensional array and show you what this is. Let's say int num2, and what we're going to do is do the brackets, and we're going to do another set of brackets. Then we're going to say equals, and just to make this easier, you can do it all on one line, but just to show how it works, let's open and close some curly brackets, make sure the semicolon's there. And a two-dimensional array you can think of, and actually is, an array of arrays. So what you want to do is, let's set this first array right here, 9, what's some other numbers, 27, whoops, curly bracket, and then we're going to put a comma, and then we're going to do another one, and I'm putting them on top of each other because it's going to be a little bit simpler to explain the indices. 45, 12, 19. Make one more row. Let's say 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay. Alright, so you may be wondering, whoops, I didn't mean to put semicolons, these are commas. And that should be nothing. Okay, so let me show you what it would look like if it was all on a single line. If you're just a quick programmer, that's what it would look like. But because I'm trying to do a demonstration, show you how to reference the rows and the columns, let's just do it this way. Okay, so as you know, rows, that's row, well, in this case, in computer counting, that's row 0, that's row 1, and that's row 2. And each of these are columns, so each index is a column. And in here, it always goes rows, columns first. So you may be wondering, how do I reference 12? How would I print that value out? Well, let's see. We're going to system.out.println, and we're going to call num2 array, and we're going to have 2 brackets, but we need to call specific, let's see, what does this say? Misplaced construct. So we need to put the value in here to get this out. So what is the value? So the first one, remember, is rows, and the second one's columns. So 12 is in row 0, 1. So you're going to want to put a 1 right there. And then how many columns is it in? Remember, this is 0, 1, 2. So if you call num2 at positions 1 and 2, whoops, that's not running the program. There we go. Okay, so then you get the 5 is from up here, but the 12 is what we were looking for. So we got that. You may be wondering, this is each row has the same amount of elements in it. In Java, you do not have, that's not necessary. For instance, I could have that, but I was just trying to make everything look pretty. One reason a two-dimensional array can come in really handy is if you have a board game, let's say checkers or something like that, you're going to have a grid layout of, if you can imagine, you know, there's a black square, white square, black square, white square, black square, and just picture the checkerboard right here. Well, that can be drawn with a two-dimensional array, and you reference each indice as you go along. Well, let's see how to print this out with a for loop. Just gonna put in some new values in here just to get it to 4. That really doesn't matter. I don't even know why I did it, but it's not as simple as you think. It is simple to make the for loop, but it's not just one for loop. So let me show you how it's done. And let's see. We're going to say int row equals 0. And we're going to say while row is less than num2 dot length, and we're going to increment row. Okay, and now we're going to do what's called a nested for loop. And what nested means is it's going to be, there's going to be another for loop right here, and it's going to be nested within this for loop. And the nested for loop is going to control the columns. So let's say for int, and we'll just say call to be short so we don't have to write it all out. While call is less than, and pay close attention to this one, while call is close to num2, and we're going to put 1 bracket right there. Dot, whoops. Let's see. No, we're going to say, what is it? Num2 row dot length. Is that correct? Yes. Okay, so what you're going to want to do is, instead of just calling out the name of the array and saying dot length, you're going to want to say the length of the current row that this for loop is on. And let me get to that in a second. I'm just going to set this up and then go step by step through it. And open up some new curly brackets. So what this is, the logic behind this is, you're going to start at row 0, which is right here, and you're going to stay on row 0 for the length of that particular row. And well, actually, while row is less than, no, not length. Okay, so you're going to start at row 0, and inside of here is what is executed. And you're going to start at column 0, and you're going to do that while num2 and the row dot length, which at this moment the row is 0, so it's going to say the length of this row. So while that is less than 4, and then we're going to end up printing it out, and you're going to increment column. And as soon as that is no longer true, you're going to go back into the outer for loop, and it's going to increment row. So now row is going to be 1, and you're going to do the whole process again and go and pretty much print out row 1, column 0, and then you're going to increment column. So you're going to say row 1, column 1, row 1, column 2. And that's the logic behind this nested for loop and the array, the two-dimensional array. And this is very important. If you did not have that in there, it wouldn't work. So let's print this out and see what happens. Sys out. Actually, I'm going to print it all on the same line. I'm going to print it out each row. Each row I'm going to print on one line. So let's do it this way. Num2, and we're going to say row, and we're going to say column. And let's give this a \tab. So this is an escape sequence. I don't know if I made a video on these yet or not. Maybe in one of the beginner videos, one of the first videos I made, but anytime you see a \, it means escape sequence. So there are certain codes where you can take advantage of that. In this case, \t is short for tab. So that's going to make a little bit of space, and since I'm not doing print line, where it would print each value on its own line, I'm trying to print each value on the row on the same line, and I'm going to concatenate it with a tab just so there is space in between so you can tell that they're separate numbers. So we're going to do that, and right here it's going to print out num2 in the current row, so it would start at 0, and then it would go right into this for loop and run this until this is no longer true and jump out of that, and it's going to take whatever row it's at and whatever column it's at and print it out. And on this outer for loop, let me just do sys out, and we're just going to do an empty print line. So after it runs this and prints out 25, 5, 9, and 27 on this the first row, it's going to get out of that for loop and print out a blank line, which pretty much will put it onto a new line and then go back into the for loop. So you pretty much will get these values without the commas and all that. Let's just see how it works. Bam. Well, made it a little bit ugly with this thing in there. Let's run it again. Okay, so as you can see, that's a way of making, you can make tables, data tables out of these type of for loops and two-dimensional arrays. Game boards, you could have zeros and X's and blank spots, and it's endless. Use your imagination. Please put new numbers in there, put different types of values, different sizes, and just mess with this. That's how you learn. And that's what Eclipse is so great for, is if you make a mistake, it's going to make a big red mark over here, and you can highlight over it and see what is wrong with it. And you'll just continue to do, you learn from your mistakes, and that's the way it is. You never get it right constantly. Just keep making mistakes. That's actually pretty good advice. Just keep making mistakes, and eventually everything's going to make sense. And this is a pretty cool thing. It was hard to grasp at first, but as soon as you get it, the sky is the limit. And I'm going to end this video. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe to my channel. And I believe some of my earlier videos probably sucked. I might want to go in there and redo them. I know my personality isn't the best in the world, the most entertaining, but I feel like I'm getting a little bit better, and I might want to go in there and redo some, and also begin to do some new subjects. So if anybody wants any particular video made, please send me a message or comment below, and please subscribe. And I also have a website, nickprogramming.org, but I'm not happy with it right now. I want to redo it completely. I also have a Facebook at Nick Programming, so please visit there too. Thank you all, and have a great day.